What up, what up, what up? Real Fans Podcast back at it again. I'm here, week 5. I'm your host, Gabe. That's Julian right there. Say what up, Julian, to the people.
What's up, people? What's up, people? Week 5, another week in the books. We're getting into the swing of the NFL season. We're starting to figure out who's not, who sucks, who's going to make it to the playoffs, or who's going to turn it around. But it's ramping up. I will say this, Gabe. We haven't talked all day to each other, a little bit in our group chat here or there, but this week has been amazing with games. That when I was picking like the games we wanted to cover today, I had a hard time. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
I wrote down a short list. Then I had to like mark off games after that because I had like 6 games I wanted to talk about. But don't worry, I narrowed it down, and maybe you'll pick up where I left off. So we'll see. But yeah, how'd you feel about this week as a whole?
Pretty good. I felt good about the early games. The later games, there were some close ones, but I was like, I'm kind of interested. So I was kind of watching peripherally. I didn't get really too deep into the later games, but yeah, I mean, every week so far has been surprising. I'm like, I kind of look ahead. I'm like, this kind of looks kind of boring, but based on how these matchups are going and how players, like, people you're not gonna suck, they're winning games. People you're not gonna do pretty good are struggling. So yeah, man, let's get into week 5, man. You're gonna set it off, Julian.
Yeah, let's go. So I'm gonna start off obviously with the injuries and news. So I kind of narrowed down. Obviously, there's injuries every single week, but we're narrowing it down to some of the biggest names, some of the biggest ones to watch out for, and what can make the biggest impact to their specific teams. First one being Aaron Rodgers getting a low ankle sprain at the end of the game against the Minnesota Vikings. He came out in his press conference saying, like, yeah, I got a sprain. Next person after that, Nico Collins with a hamstring. He had a monster game today for Houston, but then right at the end of the game had a hamstring that bothered him. And then Aaron Jones for the Minnesota Vikings got a hip injury. And then as for the news, some things that came up, Jacksonville beat Indy in Jacksonville 10 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Absolutely demolished them at home for whatever reason. And how fitting would it be 0-4 team to actually get the first win at home against Indy to continue the streak. But from the injuries that you just heard, which one kind of sticks out to you the most that we're like, that you're, if you're whichever team they play for, that you should be the most worried about?
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna go with the quarterback. I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, him coming off an injury, him having a lower leg injury with the stuff he had going on last season. It's obviously gonna be concerning with him at his age. I'm surprised you didn't talk about Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen going out for a play, banging his head. Yes. I'm surprised he kept playing. Was able to come back in the game.
When I made this report, I didn't see anything, so I don't know if they're going to come out later. Mind you, we are recording this on a Sunday night. Let's pre-warning.
Oh, yeah.
We are not going to be talking about Monday Night Football because we have not seen it. That is the Saints versus Kansas City Chiefs, because we are recording this Sunday night at like 11 p.m. Eastern time. Dallas-Pittsburgh is currently going on right now. We would have recorded this once this game finished so we can include it. But with the lightning delay that they had over in Pittsburgh, they delayed it, and we can't necessarily delay our podcast any further. Yeah. So we need to go.
It's Real Fans After Dark right now. So they're about to start in the second quarter, this Pittsburgh game. So, but let me turn the lights. It's a little dark for me. I want to be stuck in the dark. I know it's Real Fans After Dark. I don't want to be too dark. So yeah, I think Josh Allen was a huge injury. Him going out, he was able to come back in, able to score a touchdown after that. Actually, the next play he came in. But yeah, anytime you have a quarterback, especially with the Jets, being bottom of the league, like it seems like Bills are trending down right now. Dolphins trending down. Patriots are obviously terrible. So any injury to the Jets right now, with the potential of them, coming away with, they're battling for the division. So I think that Aaron Rodgers injury is something to look out for, especially going forward. You see if it becomes a nagging issue or if it affects him, his play. Because if you saw the game today, it seemed like he was trying to put the game on his back.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. If there was any game to win today, it would have been today because the Bills losing to Houston. And I don't know how many times you're going to get that opportunity if you're the New York Jets in the AFC East. But I agree with you. I think another one, too, that I'm going to touch on is Aaron Jones. I think he has been kind of like the main running force for Minnesota And losing him loses the element that Minnesota once had, because we kind of saw it today. It looked like Sam Darnold kind of slowed down a little bit from the hot streak that he was on these past 4 weeks. So losing a guy like Aaron Jones, no timeline yet that I have when I was currently seeing this as the time of recording this, but it looks like he might be out for just a short period of time. We'll see how things go forward, but I think that's going to be a big miss for them. I like Aaron Jones a lot. I think he's a quality running back, and missing him is kind of an element that, you would like to have, any team would like to have. But I'm with you on the Aaron Rodgers thing in the term that it could be a nagging thing. It could be like something with the joints. That stuff's always kind of nagging. Hopefully he can recover quickly. He does use a lot of alternative medicines, so hopefully he found something that can help him recover quicker. But we shall see. So yeah, let's hop over to the game that we want to highlight and go over what we consider the games of the week for us. Gabe, I'm going to point it to you first. What is your first game that you want to talk about you were just ecstatic about?
You know what?
If you link up in any way.
I'm going to go to the first game of the week that we have. I'm going to go Thursday Night Football, man. I mean, it was pretty close, pretty exciting, tension. Usually I hate Thursday Night Football games. We should abandon them, get rid of them. Congress, we should write a law. Congress should write a law against them. But it was actually, close. There were stakes. It was like swinging left and right. So I think the Thursday night game was pretty exciting. I don't know if you agree with me. I know, especially you're trying to get me on this Baker Mayfield train. I'm not hopping on. I'm staying with Geno Smith for now. But did you see the Bucs Falcons game?
Yes, I did. That game was amazing. I loved that game. That was on my short list. I did not add it to my list, so I got some other games, but I was really close to. That was an amazing game. Matt Ryan getting honored into the Hall of Fame at the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. So it was a big night for him. But yeah, man, you know who else it was a big night for? Kirk Cousins breaking the franchise record, 509 yards, passing yards, beating Matt Ryan's record.
How is that possible? How is that possible? I feel like Matt Ryan every week threw 500 yards, 400, damn near close to it.
And it's like, man, you go break his record on his night, man. Like, this is his night. But no, also throws 4 touchdown passes.
He threw almost 60 times.
42.
60 times.
He went 42 for 58, 72.4% completion percentage, which is great, and 114 quarterback rating. So guy absolutely played out his mind. Drake London, another one. He was a guy I loved coming out of college. I was hoping that the Jacksonville Jaguars could take him. He was, to me, I loved him in USC, and I knew it was a matter of time before he was really going to start clicking in this Atlanta offense. He showed a little bit of potential in his first rookie year, but yeah, now he's starting to step into his own, that he has a legitimate quarterback in Kirk Cousins. And all the haters that have been hating on Kirk Cousins, saying he's ass in prime time. Well, he got it done on a historic night, on a historic level in prime time. Like you said, it was a great game. It went back and forth constantly, ended up going into overtime. It was a super fun game. And watching this Tampa Bay team has been pretty exciting. The NFC South in general has actually starting to become a pretty entertaining division. Outside of the Panthers, they still suck. They're terrible. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. But, man, the NFC South has actually turned out to be a pretty damn good division. And I'm interested to see what this Monday night brings with the New Orleans Saints versus Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, man, I'm with you. This was a very entertaining game, because usually we always get really, boring, crappy games on Thursday night.
So. Yeah. And this game, I thought Tampa did pretty good. Their run game was pretty good. There's a couple turnovers in there where they coughed it up. Mayfield was, I thought he was efficient. I think he was like ended the game 19-24. So he was efficient, but he's throwing a lot of short passes. So I don't know if you want to say, game manager, but efficient with the ball. He wasn't really, I wouldn't say he was a deep threat in this game. Obviously with Kirk Cousins going off, I can compare both games, but he played well enough. Like, it wasn't anything offensive. I think that there was a big block, a big kick block that they're able to turn over. Irving loses the ball with almost like 3 minutes. They had the lead, the 3-minute drill going into the half. Irving, the running back, turns it over. And then the Bucs were able to intercept it back. It was crazy. And then at the end of the game, they have a delay of game. I don't know if you saw, there was a delay of game on a tying kick, so they had to move the ball back. And then the only note I have is Koo may be the second best kicker behind Tucker. I mean, this guy is incredible. He did miss. He did miss today. But like him in the clutch, like him in the games, like that's a guy I trust. So, and then the Bucks give up a big pass. Obviously, Kirk Cousins. I forget who the receiver was, but they were just able to weave through the middle, kind of untouched, and give up that game. But it was fun. It was a fun, exciting game. Like I said, these are two teams that I haven't been paying attention to, but like you kind of have to like open your eyes on this game. Like I can't like ignore. You've been talking about the Bucks, the Falcons. I've kind of
they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
The Bucks are super fun to watch.
So yeah, man. I mean, good play all along. I mean, it's weird because sometimes the Bucks they look good. They're putting a lot of pressure, the D line. But then sometimes they give up plays like in the second half. Like, okay, well, how good is the defense actually? But I mean, fun football for a Thursday. Like I said, I'm usually a throwaway guy. I kind of ignore the Thursday night game, but exciting football.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next game. This is my pick. I'm going to start off with the Bills versus the Houston Texans.
That's what I was going to pick.
All right, we overlap. There we go. That's the first one. Cross that off the list. So yeah, I'll start it off. So pretty much in the first half, it felt like the Bills couldn't stop anything. It was like the Houston Texans were just dicing them up. CJ Stroud was dealing. They couldn't. Stephon Diggs had so much space to run. Nico Collins had the bomb down the field. It felt like the Bills and the corners and linebackers were just getting absolutely burned. There was just open spaces everywhere. And we saw it in the what was it? Who did the Bills just get blown out by? The Ravens last week. This Bills defense is starting to become pretty susceptible. They are not very good against very good offenses. And, it's starting to show up on the tape. So hopefully the Bills can come correct. Houston in general, man, watching this Houston team, gosh, they have so much speed. They have so much speed on that offense. They're just so fast with the way they move. Cam Akers, Agubawale, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, obviously, and CJ Stroud himself can also run. It's just they're such a fast-moving team. And I saw this last week when they played against the Jaguars. And even this week, they played a lot cleaner than they have in the previous games. There's a little less penalties than they had before. Then we get into the second half. I noticed that Houston comes off running again in that beginning of the third quarter. But then Buffalo starts to, get into the run game, start feeding Cook. They start getting some momentum. They're starting to let Josh Allen, little dink and dunks, get the ball moving, get it moving, get momentum, and then they start kind of throwing it down the field. But for the most part, it seemed like Buffalo only really had 2 good drives in them when you look at it in the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth. Those 2 drives obviously got to 14 points. They had a 3 field goal in the beginning of the game, and then they tie it up right at the end. But that was about it. The only thing that kept the Bills in the game was these 2 drives. They couldn't really convert outside of that. What else do I got here? The Houston third down conversion rate, that was something that I did want to point at them. They really weren't very good in third down. Houston's best drives were them just absolutely moving the ball quick and efficient, not really grinding the clock down, which may be what they should have done towards the end of the game. But pretty much what it all came down to, and the thing everybody's going to be talking about, is how the Bills ended the game with 3 straight passes on the 3-yard line instead of trying to get some space for the punch or the punt, which I kind of get. I would do it. It's one of those things maybe in hindsight because, you're down. You're tied at that point. You're trying to get down the field, try to go for a game-winning field goal. There's not a lot of time left. You're trying to get it to your receivers farther down, get into field goal range, kick it. And I kind of understand the idea of all right, we got to throw it down the field 3 times. But maybe, just maybe, either on the first or second down, just get a little dink and dunk. Get 5 yards. Get your punt, because for whatever reason, if you don't get it, which ended up happening, make sure at least your punter has some space. Give him some space to work with. And what turned out to be not really a pretty far punt, all it took was really Houston to get 1 positive yard play, which they did right at the field goal line, and then kick the field goal right for the win. So we'll see if the Bills can bounce back from this. Obviously, this was just a good matchup in general. Houston is a very solid team, so there is that. But Buffalo, those first 3 weeks were wow, Buffalo looks like they haven't lost a beat. They look amazing. They look great. But then you see them get absolutely brutalized by Baltimore in the run game with Derrick Henry. And then you also kind of saw them get, for a good chunk of the game, kind of gashed defensively. But yeah, what did you think of this game?
Yeah, I kind of had the same notes. I think, Houston, especially that first half, had all the momentum. I think there was a stat they put up. Bills punted 5 times before the half, which was incredible. I think they were able to score a little bit before the half ended, but I think Houston had all the momentum that first half, and then Houston kind of let the Bills hang around. Josh Allen, obviously, I didn't think he had a great game. When we look at his ending stats, I think he had 9 of 30 for 131 yards. He was doing it with his legs, so when he was getting out of pocket, I think, Houston, they could have ran away with this game. Like I said, they had all the momentum. They can't let them hang around. Obviously, Allen goes out for one play. I think they do like a run play. He comes right back in. James Cook looked good for the Bills, but this Bills defense, the secondary, is not as strong as they were last year. They're not playing as well right now at this point in the season. They were a lot stronger. They were one of these top 5 defensive teams, especially if you have fantasy. So overall, obviously that's gonna have to change, right? You can't sit around and be playing from a deficit. Maybe Josh Allen can do it on his back, but I don't think especially with what's his name, Shakir being out. I think I'm trying to think of who besides James Cook, who was their best receivers.
Keenan Coleman, which
I know Coleman. He had one
about him, but he's kind of whatever.
He had one big catch. I think he scored a touchdown. He had one big long run.
Yeah,
but
he had one. Yeah. In that first drive where they scored a touchdown.
I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 right now. He's not. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 yet. But obviously, they're going to have to calling up players, and they might have to call his number. So just not a great offensive outing, I guess we'll say, and we'll see what happens with the concussion protocol. Obviously he went into the 10 and was able to come back, but I wonder how that affects him going forward. This was a strong game. Like I said, I think these are 2 great teams, 2 playoff teams. I'm kind of leaning more towards the Texans. Obviously, my Dolphins bias. I'm gonna lean towards the team that's not in my conference or not in my division. Overall, a fun game. Like I said, I think they're gonna be rolling. Maybe the Texans aren't doing as strong as I thought they would be at this point in the season, but I mean, they're still playing the games. We're not even a quarter of the way.
What are they at? 1 loss? They're 4-1 right now.
Yeah, let me see there.
Seems like for the most part, they're gonna probably run away with the division. Sadly, as a AFC South member, but. Look, man, losing Nico Collins is a big hit, but with the amount of talent and weapons that they have on this team, it seems like they're going to be fine. They can handle without him, but obviously with him, they're a whole nother monster because that's a guy who's an amazing wide receiver too. So we'll see as things continue with the Texans. Like I said, they're going to be one of the top teams in the league. So yeah, man, let's stay. Oh, actually, you know what? This is your turn. All right, give me your next game. What game do you want to talk about? What caught your eye?
We got to talk about the
sparkle in your.
We got to talk about the game into overtime, man. Let's talk about Ravens Bengals, man. I mean,
Ravens Bengals. I had that one. So
okay, I think we're on the same. We know football, man. We know ball. Okay, when I see a good game, I know
all knowledge.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I didn't have any really any strong notes for the first half of this. I mean, Jamar Chase kind of went off. He had a really big game, man. Jamar Chase. There's something about Jamar Chase running when he has like a motor, dude. When you see him running and he has space and he's looking like he's picking spots to run through. I'm like, Joe, this guy looks incredible. He looks like, MVP candidate. And he had a great game today. Just turnovers was crazy. Lamar fumbled the ball so much. I don't know if it was snap count wasn't right, if the hands were slippery or something. He had so many fumbles and turnovers, so many sack fumbles. There was one, I think, where Lamar Jackson fumbled and he avoided a sack by Hubbard, the defensive lineman Hubbard, like pushed him off twice, was able to throw and find Likely for a touchdown. That was an pretty important play. I thought like one of the best plays.
That was an incredible play. That was an amazing play.
They were really, able to come down. They were still down 1 possession, make it a 1 possession game. So, Burrow, his 5-minute drill when they got the ball back, he looked incredible. A lot of quick throws, but gave up a costly interception. Tucker, like I said, might be the best kicker. He was able to have a big game today. So it was kind of like a back and forth. Obviously this game went into overtime. There was just some crazy turnovers. Like I said, Jackson fumbling, Hayek, the holder. We talked about the kick for the kicker for the holder for the Bengals. And we only have one job.
I feel bad for the Bengal fans out there, man. Yeah. I feel bad for y'all.
I forget the guy's name, Henfro or Hencrow or something. I don't know his name. And then, I think you saw at the end Derrick Henry with a big run, able to, run out the clock and have a big run to put Tucker in position. I think Tucker came in with, it was like 1st and goal, and they're like, no, we're gonna end this game in overtime. Like we're not even gonna mess around. We're not
finish it.
Yeah. So I mean, that was like crazy kind of back and forth. Like I said, turnover crazy. I still like the Ravens. I know their record doesn't say a lot. I still think they're like one of the best teams, regardless of the amount of losses they have. And this is just so close because, obviously division rivals. Like, these guys, are going to be competing. I think there's a lot of people are looking at Joe Burrow right now. There's a lot of, Joe Burrow on the hot seat. Everybody's watching, waiting for him to ascend.
Nah.
But the Ravens are too strong, man. I think the Ravens got too much man for Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. This game was, what this game felt like? It felt like a college game.
Yeah.
Where just defense just went out the window for 90% of the game, and then 10% of the defense's time on the field, they got a turnover. So it was like, if it wasn't a turnover, they were getting gashed. That's what it seemed. There was like no good stopping in a lot of this. Obviously, if you look at the scoreline, it went to, 41-38. It was a complete quarterback duel. Burrow was playing out of his mind. To me, I've always thought Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league. The guy is incredible. He is such a great quarterback. And then, like you said too, Lamar Jackson had one hell of a game. Incredible play. And what was that? Gosh, it was in the third quarter, I believe. The way he just broke like 2 tackles, threw it across his body. Incredible play. I couldn't. But you know what though? That's a testament to how bad this Bengals defense is. No way in hell that should have happened. Like, that was just poor, just blown coverage where they just lost the receiver. It's like, man, they're because I've seen the Bengals these past 3 games or past 4 games. The offense isn't playing that bad outside of one game. They've actually been really solid and enough to win games. But the defense has been so bad at just being so leaky, giving up so many points. It's killing them. And now they're in a position where they're 1-4. And this was a big matchup because now you're going from a Baltimore Ravens team that's 3-2 with a 2-game lead ahead of you. And now instead of you being 2-3, you're 1-4. And now it feels like you have this huge uphill battle to go across. And now your division record's worse currently. This was a tough loss. And I think it's going to have a lot of playoff implications down the road, especially because we all know every single year the AFC North it comes down to the wire right at the end. All 4 teams are competing. Maybe not so much the Browns this year because Deshaun Watson is terrible, but we'll get to that another week. But when you talk about the Cincy offense, though, like you said, Jamar Chase, unstoppable, was probably the wide receiver of the week, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's insane numbers, get close to 200 receiving yards. Cincy, and the thing, too, is you would think he was just getting the ball, but I thought but Joe Burrow was spreading the ball really well. It was just the offense was just on all cylinders, just clicking. But anytime they scored, Baltimore scored. And Zay Flowers was another one that was just running wide open, running right past corners. And then we got to talk about the final field goal. You think since he has it, and I feel so bad for Bengals fans because I'm like, I couldn't imagine how pissed I would be if that happened to me. You have one of the best kickers in the league, Ed McPherson. You think it's a surefire hit. It's from 53 yards. Yeah, and it's 53-yarder, which it's far, but for him, it's like that's guaranteed. I have him as a kicker in my fantasy team, so I'm like, bet 5 points right there.
Yeah.
And then you look at first I thought he whiffed it. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, that's too far. And then they zoom in on the camera angle and you see like completely fumbled it. Like, bro, you got one job.
Yeah.
One job. Hold the fucking ball. But I don't know, shit happens sometimes. So, you just got to move on. And then, but it's Derrick Henry for the most part was pretty quiet because, the game they had to feel out the game. It kind of turned into a shootout. But man, it gave him one run and the dude was gone. Completely down. I thought he was about to score and just get a walk-off touchdown.
He did the same thing last week.
Right.
Like when you see him moving, bro, I'm like, yo, this guy is a truck. Nobody's gonna be able to stop this guy.
But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Just get the field goal, close out the game. Don't risk any injuries. Don't risk any fumbles. Just get it over with. A 24-yarder. That's like, I can make that. You know what I mean? Unless it ends up like the Seattle Seahawks and New York Giants game, which was incredible, which I don't actually have that on the list. I'm curious if you do. But let's move on to the next game. So you picked that one. So I'm gonna do my final one, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts.
That's a game I had too, man. That's a game I was looking at too.
All right, there it is. So this is gonna be our final game we're gonna talk about. Well, you know what? We'll briefly touch one more since we both had the same. But yeah, start it off, Gabe. Start it off.
Well, yeah, this is another one. Obviously, Flacco coming out. I think one of the stats they showed, he was super efficient. I think he was like 9 of 10 for his first 10 throws, all like for positive yardage. So he didn't miss a throw till the 10th one. Super efficient. Bigsby. I just wrote Bigsby. I just wrote Bigsby. Him having a big run. I think he's like one of these guys that like once in a while you just see him run for like a lot of yards. You're like, damn, maybe I should pick that guy up on fantasy. T-Law to Thomas, man. You got Brian Thomas. I'm gonna let you talk about your Jaguars. Brian Thomas is incredible. He having another great week. I think there's something about him, that connection right there, like is excellent. When T-Law is on it, when he's on all cylinders, and with the talent, I think Thomas is a great wide receiver to have. So that was just a note I saw. I was like, I think there was a big pass to the right side that they had. I was like, damn, that looks really good. Like he was thrown to him in stride. There was one, I think Gabe Davis made a catch and had a big fumble. There was a big turnover at that point in the game. I think it was, I can't remember, it was before the half. It might have been before the half.
It was the second half. Yeah. Okay,
second half. Then you had a huge sack fumble. I think the D-line was putting a lot of pressure. I think they played pretty well. They were able to get some timely stops. A sack fumble right there. Lawrence to Kirk was another huge throw. I thought it was like one of the highlights of the game. Had a big throw to Kirk, who was kind of like a quiet. I don't know. We'll get to your perspective on how Kirk is doing on the team, but since him leaving Arizona, I don't hear a lot from him. So seeing that big throw was just caught my eye. I had to write a note down. And I like this game because I thought Lawrence was able to throw to a variety of catchers, like tight end. Was it who's that big guy? Yeah, is that the big guy, like 6'7"? No, I'm thinking of another guy.
No, you're thinking of the white guy, the Luke Farrell.
Oh no, there's a tall guy. This guy's like 6'7". He looks like a freaking defensive lineman, but he's a tight end. I'm maybe thinking.
Oh, like the guy, he's injured. He's Evan Ingram. He's out right now.
He's out.
But yeah, he's our star tight end. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like I said, T-Law doing it. I thought he played excellent compared to like the last couple of weeks. Like I said, throwing to a variety of catchers. He played well. Bigsby was able to close it out with a breakout run. Close it out on the Colts, so not to end the game, but just kind of drain the clock. And Pierce was able to. I think for the Colts was a big impact player on the day. He had a pretty good game. He had big timely catches. When they needed it, when the Colts needed first downs and a touchdown, and they were able to make a little bit of a comeback, and then that field goal to take the lead. So overall, it was a fun, more than I expected. Like I said, Colts are one team that I don't watch a lot of, so I have been keeping an eye out now that Flacco's back in, and I thought Flacco played pretty well. I thought T-Law had a good game, and defense was there. I don't know if it's a perfect game. We'll talk to you about how you feel about the Jags overall, but this was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think for the neutral, it was a fun game to watch. For me, it was infuriating from a defensive perspective. But yeah, I could acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, this is probably entertaining for a lot of people. But yeah, pretty much from what I saw from the beginning of the game was they were just trying to get Trevor in a rhythm. It was short passes, get it going, get the run game moving, short little dink and ducks to Kirk, to Travis Etienne, to Bigsby, just build the confidence. Let's get the ball moving. Let's get it going. And then they slowly started progressing into the run game, like introducing Bigsby and then also power running Etienne. And I tell you what, those two are going to be one hell of a combo. If one's having a down game, the next one's going to turn up, because Bigsby, I wasn't a huge fan of him last year. He didn't really have a whole lot of great performances, but now he looks like he's starting to come into his own. This is his second year. And anything to take the load off of ETN, because we were running him a lot these past years. And I had a couple friends saying like, oh, is ETN washed? Is Bigsby taking his place? I'm like, whoa, calm down, man. Pump the brakes. First off, they're two different running backs. ETN's going to be more of an airback.
Yeah.
He's going to be more of an airback who can also run downhill if you need to. He's kind of like a hybrid more so. Not so much like Eckler, who Eckler's just a pure airback. He's kind of more of a hybrid. But then you have Bigsby, who's just like, yeah, you're just pure downhill, just run it right up the gut and break tackles. And look, in modern day NFL, you need two. And if you're honestly, I've heard that like a lot of running backs say nowadays, I would like to have a second guy because back in the day, you were just the guy. Like you had no one else and you were just getting pounded.
That's when we had fullbacks.
Shorter. Yeah. And your careers were shorter versus like, I think a lot of guys will take being in the NFL for like, let's say 8 years versus 4. And not everybody's Derrick Henry, man. Not everybody's like just a walking tank who just doesn't get hurt. So you need to switch it up. But yeah, and then once he started to get the confidence, he started moving. I mean, like I think he was also like 9 and 10 at one point. He had a really high completion percentage. Then you start to see them slowly open up the playbook, slowly started slinging downfield, and that's where Brian Thomas Jr. was just getting open, creating chances. Gabe Davis kind of had a rough day. He had some moments where he catch, but he had a couple of drives. Obviously, the fumble. Yeah. Kirk had an okay day. You briefly mentioned Kirk. I think Kirk, he's doing good enough. Would I like to see a little bit more from him? Sure. But in my opinion, he's contributing. We have a lot of weapons on this team, and especially when Ingram comes back, that's another like high-quality pass catcher. I'm not going to expect Kirk to take over the game as much because at the end of the day, I don't think he was ever really intended to be a wide receiver one. He's a slot receiver. He's a guy in the slot you put in. He gets the middle of the field, gets the flat. And I think he's good enough. I think he's doing while he's getting paid a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the veteran guy.
I will say for the most part, I don't say he lived. I would say he lived up to his contract. Like he's played pretty solid. He's been a 1,000-yard receiver. He might be, I don't know if he's going to be one this year, but he's going to be pretty damn close to it, probably 800, 900 yards. But I tell you what, man, like you said, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a dude. He is going to be a dude. Even Jimmy Smith today, he was talking to Fred Taylor because Fred Taylor does the post game for all the Jaguar games. And Fred was telling the radio, he's like, I was talking to Jimmy because they did throwback. They did a throwback night because obviously if you watch the Jazz game, he's like, that uniform looks interesting. That looks familiar. It's because they were doing the Ring of Honor just like the Atlanta Falcons did for Tom Coughlin, which I'm not necessarily a big fan of the idea of putting in a Ring of Honor for a guy who never won anything and only coached us for 7 years. That's a little weird, but people glorify the 90s, those 2 years so much. So kind of like how you Dolphins fans do for 72. It's like,
hey man, undefeated.
You guys will never let that down.
Every year they crack the champagne.
50 years ago. But anyway, so yeah, they finally brought back the throwback jerseys. I've been waiting for this forever. So in honor, I'm actually wearing mine, Freddie T jersey. But but back to what I was saying. Jimmy Smith was saying, like, honestly, I think this kid's gonna be better than me. He's like, this guy, he's got insane speed, he's got good hands, and he's actually a better route runner than a lot of people anticipated, because coming out of the draft, that was kind of the one thing people were unsure about, because in LSU, he was just kind of the go guy. He didn't really have a lot of things that ask him to like do all kinds of complex route concepts. But anyways, also too, I want to talk about the Jags defense. They struggled a lot. Obviously, Joe Flacco had an amazing day. So, I want to give all the credit in the world to Joe Flacco. Dude's 39. He had like a 20-yard run. And the guy was also dealing. He was spreading the ball around, moving it. Michael Pittman, Alex Pierce, like they were moving it a lot. And it made it hard to stop at times. There's moments where they could. But the one thing I noticed with the Jags defense is the corner and the secondaries was just getting absolutely killed. And mind you, these aren't like world beater receivers either. It seems like they're starting to get progressively worse in the secondary. Obviously, there's injuries, and we're missing our best cornerback due to injury. But like you said, there was some pressure and a couple sacks and a couple sack fumbles, but it was a little inconsistent at times. It was either they got the sack or Joe Flacco had all the time in the world. There was no in between. It was no like absolutely dominating the game. It was just couple good moments, couple opportunistic moments, kind of like what we talked about with the Cincinnati Bengals Ravens game, where it was like 90% just kind of getting blown out. And then like there's a 10% of moments where there's like, wow, these are big plays. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was. I will say this. I think the Jags had this game in the bag, and I was worried that they were going to do what they did the 3 out of the last 4 games, which is just absolutely give it up at the end. And they almost did. And Joe Flacco was just throwing bombs. But luckily, they ended up holding it off, getting the game-winning field goal. It was a little closer than it should have been, but yeah. So yeah, we're not going to do a full breakdown on this game, but let's just bring it up because I thought it was a really interesting game. Was the end of the New York Giants and Seattle Seahawks? That was pretty crazy. That was a really good game to mention. I would say that's an honorable mention for me. I'm sure it is for you. It was coming down to the wire. Geno Smith was trying to do as much as he can to win this game. He thought the Seahawks were going to either take this into overtime or win it. And then they go for the tie with the field goal. Absolutely got – I mean, I thought he hurdled over that offensive lineman. He had all the space in the world. I can't remember who got the block exactly, but he just
jumped through the middle. They missed – yeah,
it felt like the lineman just is like, where'd he go? Like he was just,
he laid down on the floor. It was weird. The two guys in the front, I don't know if it was the center or the guy next to him. Two guys kind of fell. The one guy on the left side or the one guy on the right side of the quarterback or the kicker kind of fell down. It wasn't a clean block. That's how he was able to jump over him and got a easy block.
Yeah, and then other honorable mention I want to talk about. I don't know what you thought of this, but I thought the Arizona San Francisco game was pretty fun to watch. Was a little bit of a more low-scoring game, but I do want to give, I was a big Kyler Murray hater. I thought, I mean, I don't say hater, but I thought he was kind of all right. I didn't think he was
overrated.
Great.
Just say it. You thought he was overrated.
I thought he was overrated, but not overrated to the point where he was bad. I don't know if you know what I mean. Because sometimes people are just flat out overrated, and I don't think they're good at all. I thought Kyler Murray was good. He's a little overrated. That's what I thought. But watching him this past season, the Cardinals are 2-3 right now. They've had a couple rough games. Obviously, they had the Washington game last week, but Washington's looking like they might be a fucking team. So maybe you give them a little bit of break on that. But getting a big result against San Francisco 49ers, Seahawks losing. This NFC North is actually getting a lot closer than I thought. The San Francisco 49ers are actually kind of leaving a window of opportunity for these other teams like the Rams, Seahawks, and Arizona. But Kyler Murray's playing pretty damn good. Did you see him point the finger up when he was running and he was gone? Yeah. It's like he just broke the tackle. I think there was a guy still in front of him. He called this so early, and he's like, I'm gone. He ain't catching me. Yeah. And he took it home. But Arizona looked pretty good, man. They look pretty solid defensively. They might be a team that could potentially sneak into the division or even the wild card. Like I said, it seems like the NFC is a little bit more wide open. But so far, it's another one of those teams that surprised me. And the NFL as a whole is there's a lot of – it's looking pretty – I don't know if everybody seems not as good as they should be. Everybody kind of sucks, or is everybody better than we thought? It's one of the two. But yeah, what do you think? Would you consider this game honorable mention for you?
I was kind of watching this perfect. I watched the beginning, the opening of it, and then obviously towards the end, I was just kind of checking in whatever Red Zone was showing it in. So I wasn't watching it heavily. But I do, want to comment that Kyler Murray, he's kind of living up to what I thought he could be. I've always said, to me, he reminds me of Russell Wilson 2.0. And he played pretty well. When you see,
not elite, but good.
Yeah. He's not going to be the top 5, but he's going to be great. He's going to be a guy you want on your team. Obviously, having Marvin Harrison, he didn't have a great game today. But still, I thought, he could do better than it was. It is a little surprising, obviously, even with the Seahawks losing, Seahawks are 3-2. They're still top of the NFC West right now. So, and obviously, Arizona topping the 49ers, you have an advantage, obviously, in the division. So, for a week 5, surprising is something I never expected. I was like, oh, these kind of Cardinals, nobody's going to pay attention. I'm only going to pay attention to Harrison Jr. But yeah, a surprising result. And like you said, it's leaving an opportunity for kind of shuffling, maybe teams being closer at the end of the season and wins than you kind of expected, than just one team running away with it.
Yeah, and I'll say too, just to end it off, that I think Kyler Murray is doing a lot with not a whole lot. I mean, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., not a lot going for this team offensively. Connor's not really.
No,
he's not very good. The offensive line is solid, but there's just not a ton of weapons. So it looks like they're kind of in quasi rebuild mode, where not full rebuild, because obviously they got the quarterback, they got a star wide receiver. The defense is not playing too bad, but they're they're missing a few more things, kind of like how Houston was, where there was kind of some bones there, but they just need some more elite talent around them.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll try to look into my notes to see if I can find another game. I don't want to talk about
it's all good.
No, we're not talking about the Dolphins. No, that's not.
No. I'm good. I don't want to hear no Dolphins. But while I fix my camera, why don't you give me your player spotlight? What player stuck out to you the most this week, and that you want to talk about, man? Who's your guy? Who's the Week 5 MVP? Gabe's MVP.
Man, you know what? I gotta give it Jamar Chase. He's the one that stood out to me the most. I kind of mentioned him already, but he stood out to me the most. Him waking up his legs. I think he almost. Let me get the actual stats. I think it was almost 200 yards. I think it was like 193. If I can remember correctly. If I can look up the Bengals box score, gotta be Jamar Chase. Just because like this kind of expected. Oh, and also special shout out to T. Higgins. He also had a great game. That's kind of like the 1-2 punch we've always been kind of expecting. We haven't seen it yet, but this game was a good show out for both of them. The Batman and Robin show. But I'm gonna go Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase today, playing very well.
Jamar Chase was actually on my short list, but for me, man, it's got to be no other than Kirk Cousins, man. He set a record, a franchise record, man. 509 yards, 4 TDs, like I said earlier, 1 interception, 72% completion, and a 114 QBR. Dude played out of his mind. It might be the best game of his career. I'm not entirely sure, but it's for sure up there, and the best game in an Atlanta Falcons jersey for sure.
Yeah, most recently.
And you know what? Shout out to, I think he's had a lot of I don't want to say pressure, but he's gotten a lot of flack. I think a lot of people say that he's overrated or not that good, but I've always been a Cousins guy. I always thought he has talent. He's a solid quarterback in this league. And, he's kind of establishing like I'm going to be the guy in Atlanta. I'm going to push you guys to a playoff, division championship. And then once Michael Penix is ready, he can take over. But for right now, this is the Kirk Cousins show. As for some honorable mentions, Jamar Chase was one of them. I had Drake London on there.
Yeah, Drake London. He had a good game today. I was going to say that. Shout out Kirk Cousins, but also shout out Drake London. He had a big catch.
And then last one, Bigsby, man. He was just because this is a career game. This is a show out game for him. I like for my player spotlights. Obviously, Cousins is an established veteran, but I like to kind of look into some of the guys who, these are like the games that make a name for themselves. Yeah. So Bigsby is one of those for me. But so let's do a little team deep dive this week. Like, what team did you want to break down this week for your end? Like, what team did you like that you're like, wow, I want to talk about them a little bit.
The Vikings. How the Vikings,
all right.
The Vikings are pretty damn good. This is a team that I didn't expect to maybe be a playoff deep team. I've been higher on them in the past, but the Vikings are pretty damn good. Sam Darnold continues to have another great week. But the Vikings defense overall, I think, is just proving. Everybody's talking about the great job that Brian Flores is. He might not be a great head coach, but as far as defensive schemes, doing it with Van Ginkel, a former Dolphin player. I just wanted to highlight the Vikings overall. Like on both sides of the ball, they just seem to be getting it together. I think with health, especially now, we have Green Bay. I think I forget the score of the Green Bay game today. But did Jordan get hurt today? I can't remember. Am I remembering something? But yeah, the Vikings. Yeah. The Vikings defensively have been doing pretty well, and this is definitely a team to watch out for. Going forward, like this is, like I said, not a team I expected, maybe like a dark horse. A team I expected to do well, but the Vikings. You have anything on the Vikings?
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said last week, I didn't expect much for them at all. When I saw Sam Darnold was going to be their guy, I'm like, oof, like maybe he might have a good. Because I wasn't all right when I first saw Sam Darnold going there. I'm like, maybe he can do something because look, you got the best wide receiver in the league. You got Aaron Jones. You got a solid coach. You're going to have a solid defense. Like, maybe he won't be so bad because he was at a shithole that was Carolina and New York at the time, and Carolina still. But man, I'm with you. The Vikings, dude, 5-0. Like they're playing out of their mind right now. They're the best team in the NFC, I would say. Like, who's stopping them? And to me, it was a big statement game because you won in London, so you had the long travel, and not only won, but you beat a good team in the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, a team that's supposed to be a playoff team. And even with Sam Darnold not playing the best, obviously not like MVP level like he did the past 4 games, but they still got it done. And to me, if you can win ugly and you can win when you're not playing at your highest level, that's a sign of a good team, man. Like Justin Jefferson still got 90 yards receiving, even with Sam Darnold not playing his best. But even when your quarterback is maybe not playing at an elite level at the moment, the fact that you still have this team around him who can still keep you in games and still win and hold teams under 20. Look, I trust the Vikings to get it done. They're going to continue the streak that they're on, and they're going to play pretty damn well. I'll tell you what. I don't know what their future schedule looks like. Haven't got a chance to look at it, but I'm curious how long they can keep this streak going because I have a friend who's a Vikings fan. And he's pretty hype right now because he was coming into the season pretty low. He's like, yeah, this is not going to be much this year, but they're playing well, man. They're playing well. And
just to give a couple stats,
Vikings fan.
As of October 1st, the Vikings are leading sacks. The NFL with sacks with 17. They're tied for first in interceptions.
Ooh, 17 in 5 weeks. That's crazy.
Yeah. They're second in the league for rushing yards against, so they're good against the rushing game. Fourth overall with 14.8 games per game, 14.8 points per game. Fourth overall in the league, and they have allowed the fewest points in the league, allowing only a field goal in week 1, allowing the fewest points in the first quarter. So as far as like opening games, you think you start fresh off. Starting the game, you're going to start fresh. You're not going to know what kind of defense teams are going to go on, but they're able to stop teams from converting easy. It gets harder as the game goes on because teams are going to see your game, right? They're after every drive, they're copying, pasting, and looking at what kind of scheme you're doing, what kind of blitz package, if you're going in zone, man to man, whatever you're doing. So obviously, defense gets harder as the game goes on, but they're able to stop teams from converting in the first quarter. So I think that's pretty good highlight for the defensive work of Brian Flores. So
yeah, I mean, if you look at last week, I mean, they had a huge lead over the Green Bay Packers. I mean, the defense gave out a little bit by letting them come back towards the end to where it got really close. But if you're able to start pretty well, it's harder to come back from a deficit than to hold a lead. So yeah, man. As for my player spotlight or team spotlight, my bad, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. Really? Absolutely blowing out the Carolina Panthers this week. Look, I understand. It's the Panthers. The Panthers are probably going to be the number 1 overall pick this year because they are terrible. I mean, they don't know who's playing quarterback. You have Andy Dalton starting, but then he doesn't finish the game. They bring Bryce Young back in. I just thought it was funny because you look at the storyline of this game where Carolina traded everything to the Chicago Bears for Bryce Young, and it's biting them in the ass. And then you look at the Chicago Bears, who are currently a team I feel that is on the rise, who started off slower, but they're progressively getting better with the pieces that they got from Carolina, from the draft picks to DJ Moore to everything. And this Bears team, the Bears defense, they got some ballers on the defense. Matt Eberflus has got these guys moving. They are playing really well defensively. Caleb Williams, I feel like, is progressively getting better and getting more and more confident with the ball. I mean, today he went 20 for 29, 69% completion rate, 304 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, this is the Carolina Panthers, but this is week 5. We've seen how they played in the previous weeks. And I think, look, if you're a rookie, you need games like this, man. You need to build your confidence. I think this is just going to help them in the long run. They had 424 total yards today, so pretty amazing game. They need to get DeAndre Swift consistent. These past 2 weeks, he's been great. First 3, he's kind of whatever. He's kind of pedestrian, but if you can get this man DeAndre Swift consistent, I mean, I like DeAndre Swift a lot. I think he's a very talented running back. You get him playing like that and get more targets to DJ Moore. Get the ball to him as much as possible because that guy is a play waiting to happen. He's got so much speed, so much mobility. The guy, I love DJ Moore. He's really good. And it's a great weapon to bring with such a versatile weapon to bring to help Caleb Williams progress in his development. And I think this could potentially be a team in the Chicago Bears that could compete for a wild card. Like I said, I think the NFC is wide open. I don't think anybody's super dominant right now outside of the Vikings. Everybody's kind of 3-2, 2-3. That's what it seems like. I have to look at the full standings, but just off the top of my head, there's not a lot of one-win teams or a lot of undefeated teams as we currently stand 5 weeks into the season. But what do you think of the Bears?
I think the Bears, are a fun little team. Like I said, they're a little bit. I've been higher on them in the past, but like you said, it was kind of crazy. I think I gave a stat last week that it was the first time. Week 4 was the first time DJ Moore scoring touchdown, which is incredible. Being that they traded so much for him and they haven't been using him as well. But yeah, I mean, that's something to watch out for, especially going into next week. Bears, I think I'm rooting for them. They're kind of like the underdog that you kind of root for. Maybe you don't expect much, but you kind of hope they do better than what you expect.
Yeah, they've been in the doldrums. As a fellow team that's been in the doldrums, I root for other teams to get better. But unless you're the Cowboys, then you guys can suck forever. I don't care. But sorry, Gabe. I know you're a Cowboys fan.
Oh my God! Let me refresh this game. The game turned off. Let me see what the points
are. Currently, as we stand, it is 10-6 Pittsburgh. Dallas has the ball on the 45-yard line.
Why is the game so close?
2 minutes left in the third quarter. This is a snooze fest. My God, this is not a very good game. So I'm kind of glad we're missing. Well, you know what? We probably wouldn't even put this. We wouldn't have put this game on our list anyway. So I feel less bad missing it. But yeah, man, let's move over to let's look ahead. Let's look ahead to week 6. I think we covered everything we need to cover for week 5. We talked about our teams that we liked. We talked about the players that we liked. We talked about the games that we liked, the injuries, the news. Let's look ahead to week 6. I got 3 games here. I know you got 3 games over there. We're going to add a little bit to it than we did last week. Give me your game, and I'll give you the odds for it. Tell me why you like this game, and then give me a prediction of who you think is going to win this game based on the spread that we have.
Well, based on what we talked about earlier, I'm going to start off with Thursday Night Football. Like we said, with San Francisco losing to Arizona, it kind of leaves the NFC West open. And on Thursday Night Football, they play, it'll be 49ers at the Seahawks. Obviously, both teams coming off a loss this week. But right now, the Seahawks are top. They're up 1 game. And this could be, right? We talk about having win advantage over other teams, especially if it's going to be, the division's going to be closer than it is. It's going to be a huge game in week 6. It's kind of crazy. So I want to see the game. Not that I think this is going to be great, a great game to watch. It's just the implications of it are going to be big. Right now, San Francisco are favorites with -3. And I'll take the over on San Francisco. I think they'll be able to bounce back. Seahawks, I just don't see, as much as I love Geno, their defense has been playing bad. The Seahawks defense has been playing bad. And Geno, as much as I like him, hasn't been able to be as explosive as an offense as you'd think. So I'm going to go San Francisco over -3. San Francisco on the road winning against the Seahawks.
So that was actually one of the games I picked. I had the San Francisco-Seattle game, exactly for what you said. Not so much for the quality of game, but more so for the implications like we had with the San Francisco-Arizona game. I think it's going to be a similar type game to what we saw there, and also the Seahawks game with the Giants, where it's going to be like 20-21, 20-23. It's going to be a super close game. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. I'm actually going –
be closer than 3 points?
Yeah, so I think San Francisco is going to win. So I would take San Francisco on the money line. They are the favorites, like you said, -3 to +3. But I'm going to go +3 Seahawks because
You think the 49ers win the game, but the Seahawks cover the points.
Yeah. No, the San Francisco doesn't cover. Yeah, so I'm going to go Seahawks +3, but I have San Francisco winning. I think this is going to be like a 1-2 point game. For sure. So I'm curious if that line moves at all to 3.5, because I could also see like it being a wash and it just hitting 3 in general. So that I guarantee that line's going to move to a 3.5 or 2.5, one of the two. But yeah.
Listen, man.
With my,
I was gonna say I'm tired of matching with you, man. Why we think so? Like, this is not a great podcast. If we're just thinking the same, we're saying the same thing. We just can't. We're just so agreeable. It's like, what is their conflict? So I want to hear what game you're looking out for.
All right, I'll give you. This one might throw you off. You might not think this one, but maybe you will. I got Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus New Orleans Saints.
Damn it! I was gonna say that too. Damn
it. To be fair to us, there's not a lot of great matchups, I will say. So we might end up being the exact same. But yeah, that's Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, AFC North matchup. AFC East matchup. You're playing at New York. There's a lot of things about this that I think is interesting. I'm curious to see how this Rodgers injury shapes out to be. How good is he going to look? He did finish out the game. So maybe he does play. Maybe he tapes it up real good. Maybe he puts a brace on. I have a feeling is I have no sources. No sources. I just have a supposition that he's going to play this game, and it's going to be a good game because it seems like Buffalo is tending to struggle on the road. That's what I'm getting, and Buffalo tends to struggle against good defenses, and this New York defense is one of the best in the league. They are very tough to break down. This is going to be a low-scoring game. This is not going to be a pretty game at all. But I think this is another one due to the playoff implications, the division implications. This is going to be kind of a must-watch game. So, yeah, I got this game, and then the odds are -2.5 to +2.5 at New York. I'm going to take Buffalo to cover and win by 3 points.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of the same things as far as I think these are two weak teams, two hurt teams right now with a lot of questions over the Jets. Obviously, Bills coming off a bad loss. I do want to see how they bounce back just selfishly as a Dolphins fan because maybe it'll work out in our favor this week. I think, the Dolphins were the only ones to win this week. For the same reasons. But I think that the Jets winning at home, I think the Jets are going to win at home. I think the Bills are too hurt now. Like I said, there's just a lot of questions. The Aaron Rodgers injury is something to watch. I think, depending on the degree, maybe it's a nagging injury, maybe it's not. Let's see how it comes out. But I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to outmatch. Aaron Rodgers' production is going to be able to outmatch Josh Allen. I just don't see. Leg? One peg leg. He's gonna be out there slanging and banging. Okay, he's gonna be out there giving 2 and 3 pieces around the field. I just like the Jets right now. The Jets offense right now. I like them better. The defense, their Jets defense gave up a lot of penalties. There was a lot of dumb penalties they gave up today, especially in the secondary. Sauce Gardner had some dumb penalties. But I just think overall they have a better team. I got them winning this game outright. So give me the Jets.
All right. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Can we not be agreeable? Okay, I'm going to pick a game now. Okay, let's not
pick a game.
Okay.
All right. If you have the same one as me, I already have another one in the pipeline. Tank? Yeah, I got another one in the tank. If you pick the same one here,
Buccaneers Saints.
That was we were 3 for 3. We were 3 for 3. I said Bucs Saints. We had the same exact 3 games, but I got another one, so don't worry about it.
Okay. Same thing. Division rivalry in house. I'm a little bit higher on the Saints, but obviously you're trying to shed the light on the Bucs. I think the Bucs are a little bit down right now. If I'm looking at the odds, and I'm just going with my gut right now, the Saints are favored -2.5. Looking at the odds. Saints at home. I'm gonna go with the Saints at home more than 3. It's gonna be more than a field goal, maybe 6 points. I'm gonna go with the Saints, but this should be a fun matchup, a fun week 6 matchup. Again, these are maybe 2 teams that like I said, I've been higher on the Saints, but I maybe didn't necessarily want to watch. I thought the Saints were gonna run away with the division, but it seems like there's a lot of competition with Atlanta being competitive, Tampa's being competitive, Saints. So that's why I want to watch it. Like I said, the division. How are these. How are they going to be able to match up, and how is this going to affect the end of the season as far as playoff implications? So, give me the Saints.
And for the audio listeners, like we said prior, we are recording this on a Sunday night, so we have not seen how they played Monday night. That might change the way we feel. But you know what? I think Gabe's going to stick with how he feels regardless of how that Monday night game goes against Kansas City Chiefs. It is the Chiefs at the end of the day. So we're kind of going based off the previous 4 weeks. I picked this game too because, like you said, it seems like all 3 games we picked was because of division. They were all divisional matchups that are very important, and this is another one. And I think, to me, if you're Tampa, this is kind of a must-win game. You can't lose back-to-back division games, especially if you want to compete and try to win it. Losing to the Falcons and then losing to New Orleans, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. But I like the Bucs here. The Bucs are plus 2.5. And the New Orleans Saints are minus 2.5, but it looks like a lot of people are hitting that Bucs spread because it is minus 105 for the odds on that. And I like the money line at a plus 122. Gosh, I can't speak. So if you want to make some money, why don't you follow my advice? But in general, no, I like Tampa Bay's offense. I think there's a team that can really score and put up points. And I have a feeling that it's going to come down to a shootout, and I don't know if the Saints have enough to keep up. I love Chris Olave, and Derek Carr is continuing to, prove that he's a quality quarterback in this league. But with the way Baker's playing and having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I think they're going to be able to outperform that defense that they have, and they're going to outscore the Saints because I think that's what it's going to take to beat the Saints. Is you just got to outscore them because they're also going to put up their points too. But we'll see how well they look against Kansas City Chiefs. That might affect the way I feel, but nonetheless, I'm still going to go with the Bucs here because I think they're in a mode where we have to win this game because you do not want to lose 2 games in a row in your division. So I'm going with the Bucs here. I think their offensive talent is just a little higher of quality than the New Orleans Saints. Oh. Since we had the same one, as we're looking, I found another game, and honestly, I think there's a lot of disrespect that's happening, and I think it needs to be addressed. And I'm talking about the Washington Commanders.
Wow.
At the Baltimore Ravens.
Wow.
They got the Baltimore Ravens minus 6.5 against the Washington Commanders, who's been dominating the past few weeks. The absolute disrespect that they're putting on the Commanders is unreal. This game should be a lot closer. I get you're playing out Baltimore, but this is the DMV rivalry. This is essentially the crosstown matchup. This team are less than an hour away from each other? Something like that. So this is going to be a really fun matchup to watch. I think you're going to get a lot of Commanders fans in the Baltimore Stadium. It's going to be a mix of fans. I don't know when the last time we got to see this matchup. I'm actually really excited just for that because, that Maryland rivalry, Maryland DC rivalry. But this is a Commanders team who is rolling. Jaden Daniels is not only in the contention for Rookie of the Year, this guy is seriously a contender for the MVP right now of the league. And he would there's only been ever one MVP rookie. And this guy, with the way that he's playing, at the level that he's playing, not just him, but the way he's lifting up his team, he is being a leader with Terry McLaurin, who's having a great start to the season. Brian Robinson, who's playing well. The defense, who is getting after quarterbacks and just getting sack after sack. Like I said, they're not just winning games; they're blowing people out. Obviously, they've had a couple of games where they've lost, but it seems like they're just getting more and more into a rhythm. And this is a Baltimore team these past 2 weeks past week, where they showed that they can be a little leaky. Yeah. They gave up a lot of points, 38 points. 38 points to Cincinnati Bengals. And this Washington team is also a team that can put up points. Maybe not to the level that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can, but with what I've been seeing, this is a lot closer. I will say this, though. I think Baltimore might have their number. I think they're going to win the game, but I have Washington with the plus 6.5 because I think it's going to be a lot closer game than what the Vegas odds are having us. And just for I think the environment's going to be really sweet to watch too, just seeing that essentially inner city rivalry.
Yeah. I'm looking at, because when I see points like that, I'm like, let me see the weather. Is it supposed to rain or something? It's supposed to be mostly sunny. No precipitation.
It's a beautiful day.
52% humidity. Should be a nice day in Baltimore on Sunday. bearing any changes. But yeah, I can see that. I think, like you said, Baltimore haven't been the strongest right now. I expect them to be a strong Super Bowl contender. Maybe they're not playing well right now, but it is week 5, week 6. So I think they just get better. I think, the more confident I feel in the Ravens is as the closer we get to the playoffs, seeing how if they're able to clean it up and play efficient and not, give up done turnovers and fumble the ball on hikes and stuff. So, maybe there's a chance, maybe puncher's chance, fighter's chance with Washington playing, so well. They seem to be on the uptrend. But man, I just give me the Baltimore Ravens. There's just I'm gonna go with it till I see it fail. I'm gonna stick with the Ravens.
But you're having the Ravens with a 6.5 spread.
Yeah. Yes. Give me
more. Okay.
Touchdown. Give me 7 points or more.
Damn. Gabe's going to say, he's like, you know what? Double it. Let's make it 12.5.
No. He's too high. Too high for my blood.
12.5. What the odds for that? That's plus 350. You take it, Gabe. Take it.
That's 2 possessions, man. That's 2 possessions. They can win by 2 possessions. At least 1.
It's possible. But like I said, I think this Washington team is just, when you have this belief that you can do it, you may not be the best team, but somehow you start to overperform your own levels. But yeah, those are our pivotal games of the week. We were 3 for 3, and then I had to throw another one in there, which, I mean, quite honestly, after that game, there's nothing super big I want to talk about as from a neutral perspective. Obviously, if you're a fan of whichever team you're rooting for, you're going to watch your game. But we wanted to bring some of the games that we think are going to be not only entertaining, but just big playoff implications and divisional implications that might happen. But I want to thank everybody for making it to the end of the show. If you guys enjoyed this show, please feel free to subscribe and like to the podcast. As you guys can tell, we are on a brand new channel, like you guys seen and I've mentioned in the community post. So if we need all the help you can, please, like I said, like, subscribe, and if you're listening to us on the audio platforms, leave us a review, and downloads, man. I greatly appreciate all the people that have helped support and come over and support not just only this channel, but the other channel and all the support we've got throughout the years. Greatly appreciate y'all. Gabe, any final thoughts?
Oh man, we're gonna keep checking out. Hopefully, we'll get our other co-hosts on here. There's other stuff going on. There's basketball is about to start up. Hockey. I had to wear my Panthers. They start this Saturday. By the time you see this, the season would have started already. We haven't talked about any playoff baseball is going on, any wild card stuff. So hopefully, get our other co-hosts and talk on here. But we appreciate everybody checking us out on the channel and everybody that's subscribing. Thank you all so much.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you, and see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.